Good morning, students. Uh, Today's class we will discuss about vapor power cycle. Brief introduction and what are the vapor power cycles are available and how we can modify for efficiency enhancement of the vapor power cycles. The syllabus what we are discussing in this 1 hour lecture. One is what is vapor power cycles. We know only one vapor power cycle is available. That is a Rankine cycle. The modified Rankine cycle, reheat, superheat, reheat, and regeneration Rankine cycle. Then at present, all thermal power plants are based on the supercritical and ultra supercritical Rankine cycle. What is the advantage? Cycle is same, the modified Rankine cycle only. The operating pressure of boiler is enhanced to supercritical range, 221 bar pressure, and ultra supercritical range, more than 250 bar pressure. Then what are the advantages? Is there in the pollution point of view, efficiency point of view? Both we will discuss. Then after one more option by utilization of the vapor power cycles in combined gas cycle and vapor power cycle. In the combined cycle, topping and bottoming cycle we are calling. The first fossil fuel we are supplying topping cycle, air standard cycle. One of the best way non-movable air standard cycle is Brayton cycle because the heat supply and heat rejection will take place by constant pressure process. Other transport air standard cycle like Otto cycle, diesel cycle, dual cycle, based on the constant volume process, heat rejection is taking place. So efficiency point of view somewhat is low compared to Brayton cycle. Some other reasons, but because if constant pressure heat rejection we are taking, the self weight of the engine is increasing, the stroke length is increasing. If non-movable engine means there is no issue, but for automobiles, whatever the petrol engine or diesel engine we are using, their engine weight also important because the prime power only the lifting the weight of the engine also. In that condition, we want to reduce the stroke length. That's why heat rejection always we are maintaining constant volume process. But here there is no prime power movement, so engine will stay stable at no movement. So that's why vapor power cycles. The air standard cycle, the Brayton cycle, air standard cycle based gas power plant, and the Rankine cycle based steam power plant combinedly we are producing. What is the main intention is reduction of the pollutants per kilowatt hour per unit of electrical generation. We will discuss thoroughly about that one. Next, what is the importance of studying of the vapor power cycles, especially mechanical engineers? Listen, ultimate goal is what is the use? The subject is there, we are studying, not like that. The basic area at present you see is a 2020 statistics. Total electrical energy generation capacity in India is 3,72,693 megawatt. So total electrical energy generation capacity 3,72,693 megawatt capacity. Out of the total generation capacity, you see the role of thermal power plants is 62 percentage. We all know we are substituting the internal combustion engines in automobile field, internal combustion engines by electrical motors. Once we substituted electrical motors, then battery system is coming where we will supply the electrical energy. Charging stations. Charging stations, how they will get electrical energy? We want to generate the electrical energy. The assured power generation technology is till now also steam power plants. 24 by 7 we can produce. Renewable energy based means according to seasonally. Or solar we are selecting data. Or hydro, whenever rainy season is there, at that time we can generate hydro. So some obstacles are there, remaining fields. Only steam thermal power plant, steam turbine based thermal power plant or vapor power cycle based thermal power plants are assured capacity. 2024 the target moves to 5 lakh installation capacity. We can reach 5 lakh megawatt. Once the automobile fully substituted, it may reach to 10 lakhs also. So huge employmency area in thermal power plants for mechanical engineers. That's why it is a great interesting topic. for mechanical engineers in future employment is there, and also interesting topic. That's why we are dealing with vapor power cycles. First one, in a vapor power cycle, every time whenever any air standard cycle we are discussing or any cycles we are discussing, first we will concentrate on Carnot cycle. If Carnot cycle is capable to run or not, because Carnot cycle is giving highest efficiency. If it is practically not possible, then what are the hurdles by implementation of the Carnot cycle? Then we will modify that process only, not entire process. That process we can retrofit by other process. But Carnot efficiency we will kept as a benchmark efficiency, because thermodynamics 100% efficiency not possible. How much is possible means based on the operating temperature, source and sink temperature, we can calculate the Carnot efficiency. That is the benchmark efficiency. So we know vapor power cycle. This is the saturation curve of steam. We are dealing with water. So steam saturation curve. This side saturation liquid line, this one saturated vapor line. Below this line is called subcooled region. This line is wet region, and this above this line is superheated region. This is the saturation curve. Suppose we are assuming Carnot cycle, we know the process. It may be vapor, it may be a standard. Process are fixed. Heat interactions always in constant temperature process. Why? Because in the isothermal process, whatever heat we are supplying, total heat convert as a work. There is advantage. Second process, work interactions we are assuming on adiabatic process. Work interactions we are assuming on adiabatic process. This is a common for cycle. Suppose cycle we can discuss first. First I will explain cycle, then what are the hurdles, then what is the modification we can discuss. 1 to 2, isothermal heat addition. So it is in the vapor range, saturation liquid to saturation vapor we are producing. 1 to 2, isothermal heat addition. Again 2 to 3, adiabatic expansion or isoentropic expansion. Next 3 to 4, isothermal heat rejection, and 4 to 1, adiabatic or isoentropic compression. This is the fourth process. So practicality, one by process we will discuss. 1 to 2, isothermal heat addition. In the 1 to 2 isothermal heat addition, at constant temperature I am doing the heat addition 1 to 2. There is no issue, because saturation liquid to saturation. Phase change is occurring. Isothermal process means without changing temperature, phase change. So we can achieve in wet region. But one constraint is there. Maximum source temperature we can move 340 degrees or 350 degrees. That is the saturation temperature of the steam at phase change region. Maximum whatever the pressure you are moving. Means the source temperature is not increasing. If source temperature you are unable to increase, the efficiency of the cycle is decreasing. Second, 2 to 3 adiabatic expansion. In the 2 to 3 adiabatic expansion, you see starting of the first stage of the turbine, saturation vapor is entering. While in expansion, the condensation of the water steam is taking place, and the water droplet will form. That water droplets impinge the turbine blades and damage of the turbine will take place. Two-phase expansion, practically not possible. Next 3 to 4, isothermal heat rejection, okay. Again 4 to 1 also, adiabatic compression. In the adiabatic compression, again we are two-phase compression is taking place. The practically two-phase compression is not possible. So to overcome that one thing we can do, we are raising the boiler pressure. Then we overcome two problems. One is turbine single phase expansion will come, and compressor single phase compression will occur. But heat supply constant temperature process is not possible. Above the supercritical, this direct liquid will convert as a vapor. Then heat supply practically in constant temperature process is not possible. These are the hurdles of the Carnot cycle. So to overcome that one, this isothermal heat addition and heat rejection we are substituted by the isobaric process, means constant pressure. That's all. Work interactions we are maintaining adiabatic process. We substituted this heat interactions instead of isothermal process, constant pressure process. Then with these modifications, Rankine proposed ideal Rankine vapor power cycle. That's all. Okay. Next you see, these are theory part I given already I provided material. Some simple problem. Consider a steam power plant operating on simple ideal Carnot vapor steam enters to the turbine at 3 megapascal and 350 degrees centigrade and is condensed in the condenser at a pressure of 75 kilopascals and 92 degrees centigrade. Determine the thermal efficiency. So whatever the pressures relevant for Carnot cycle we know, based on the operating temperature you can calculate the efficiency, estimation of the efficiency if Carnot cycle practically feasible. The efficiency, maximum efficiency you can achieve 41, not 100%. Starting of lecture I mentioned 100% efficiency practically not possible in thermodynamics. Why? Because we are converting low grade energy to high grade energy. That is the main reason. Next, some nomenclature. That wet region properties I want to extract from the steam. Then I want to know the dryness fraction. Basic thermodynamics we are discussing this all. Just I am again recalling that one. This dryness fraction means mass of vapor to the mass of vapor per plus mass of liquid. What is the dryness fraction means? Mass of vapor to the mass of vapor plus mass. Means how much percentage of vapor is there out of total wet steam. That is important. That is called X. Once we calculated X or we extracted X value, then you can calculate the yet that dryness fraction. What is the enthalpy? What is the entropy? What is the specific? Enthalpy liquid, enthalpy of the saturated liquid plus X into enthalpy of saturated gas minus enthalpy of saturated liquid, like entropy also. Entropy of saturated liquid plus X into entropy of saturated gas minus saturated liquid, and specific volume. Specific volume of saturated liquid plus X into specific volume of saturated gas minus saturated liquid. Come to the superheated range. Generally, common pressures means we can assume specific heat, but specific heat basically depend on temperature. So, specific heat is a superheated range varying drastically compared to liquid range. Liquid range specific heat of the liquid means 4.2 we can consider. Instead of using these equations, by using steam tables, 4th, 5th, 6th table, superheated range, enthalpy, superheated range, entropy, superheated range, specific volume. Otherwise, open the Euler diagram, mark the point, extract the enthalpy and entropy value. That is the best two methods instead of using this equation. In the problem, if they provided specific heat Cp at that particular temperature, then you can use this equation H superheat equal to Hg plus Cp into T superheat minus T saturation, or S superheat equal to Sg plus Cp into ln of T superheat by T saturation. Generally, I am not recommending this one, because the specific heat value in the problem they are not given. Then while assuming specific heat you are calculating is your values, your efficiency is deviating from the real calculations. So the modified cycle we already mentioned. The modified cycle. So in the Rankine cycle, ideal cycle, vapor power cycle, just we modified the Carnot cycle by heat addition and heat rejection. The work interactions are same. Second thing, in Carnot cycle, compression is taking place in two-phase compression, means vapor also compressing. So energy consumption is more because vapor have high specific volume. Coming to the Rankine cycle 1 to 2, saturation liquid we are compressing from the condenser pressure to the boiler pressure. Saturation liquid we are compressing by using pump from condenser pressure to boiler pressure. The specific volume of the water is very low, 1000 times difference from the specific volume of the steam to the water. So less energy input out of any type of vapor, the power cycles, not vapor power cycle or air standard cycles. There's only one cycle, including Carnot cycle. Only one cycle having a less high grade energy input. The less high grade energy input cycle is only one cycle, that's a Rankine cycle. That's why 1850s, now 2020 is running. We modified Rankine cycle, but we are not substituted Rankine cycle till now for the power generation. Because work input is negligible amount. Because we are compressing the liquid water and we are expanding the steam. The specific volume difference, 1000 times difference of the specific. So 1000 times difference of specific volume is there. Next, come to the 2 to 3. In boiler, in Carnot cycle, we assumed isothermal process. Practically not possible. You want to single phase expansion turbine. So constant pressure process heat addition is taking place. So sensible heat means subcooled liquid is entering in the boiler, reaching the saturation liquid. From that saturation liquid to saturation vapor. Then after superheated steam. Why? Because in turbines, single phase expansion is required. So constant pressure heat addition. Next, turbine expansion, adiabatic expansion or isoentropic expansion in turbine. And reaching turbine outlet condenser. Some dry steam, not dry steam, dryness fraction maybe 0.8, 0.9, more than 0.85 or 0.9. Dryness fraction steam is entering into condenser at a constant pressure process. Heat rejection is taking place. That dryness fraction 0.9 or 0.95 steam is condensing and reaching saturation liquid condition. That saturation liquid is entering into the pump. This is the ideal Rankine cycle. So by this ideal Rankine cycle, what is the energy balance? It is a flow process, all already knows. Where for flow process, application of the first law of thermodynamics is steady flow energy equation we are applying for determining the energy interaction of each component. Simply, the pump work, the work supplied pump H2 minus H1, the heat supplied to the boiler H3 minus H2, the work extracted from the turbine H3 minus H4, the heat rejection in the condenser H4 minus H1. You can see same vocabulary. Then efficiency, network output by heat supply, R1 minus condenser heat rejection by boiler heat supply. One more vocabulary in industry we are calling steam rate and heat rate. Steam rate means how much mass flow rate of the steam is required for production of unit power. Okay. But mass flow rate of the steam we are representing kg per hour. So the equation is 3600 divided by network. Heat rate also like that only. How much rate of heat supply is required to produce unit work output? Efficiency is network output by heat supply only. So 1 by efficiency. But heat rate also we are seeing kilojoules per hour. So multiplied by 3600 divided by efficiency, you will get the heat rate, that is kilojoules per kilowatt hour. So same problem in Carnot cycle, whatever the problem we discussed, same problem. If we run Rankine cycle, working fluid as a steam, vapor power cycle, then what is the possible efficiency? The simple Rankine cycle, what is the possible efficiency? So at 3 megapascal and 350 degree, 3 megapascal means in bars, steam tables are available in bars. So 1 megapascal equal to 10 power 6 Newton per meter square. 1 bar equal to 10 power 5 Newton per meter square. So in bars means into 10. 3 megapascal, 30 bar pressure and 75 kilopascal. Same 1 bar 10 power 5 Newton per meter square. 1 kilopascal equal to 10 power 3 Newton per meter square. So divided by 100. So 0.75 bar. So 30 bar to 0.75 bar. 30 bar to 5. So boiler pressure is 30 bar, 350 degrees. and condenser pressure is 0.75. Simply by opening the Euler diagram, it is calculation is easy. Open the Euler diagram, mark 30 bar pressure and 350 degree centigrade, and see the enthalpy how much. Then isoentropic expansion only. So move isoentropically up to 0.75 bar and mark the point. That is point is H4 enthalpy of the steam, and you will get the dryness fraction of the steam also. So H4 value. Then same pressure, saturation, liquid and liquid enthalpy and specific volume you extract from the steam table. H1 you will get. And next, the work input. Here specific volume is not changing in liquids compared to gases. Air, pressure we are changing, specific volume is changing. But here it is not changing. So V into change in pressure, the work input to the pump we can consider. Why? Because volume is not changing, constant volume process, whatever the work output we are getting, same work output in isoentropic process also you will get. Simple calculation purpose. V into change in pressure, P2 minus P1, then work input to the pump we are getting. H1 plus work input to the pump, you will get the H2. So all enthalpy single shot we are getting. Second method, from the steam table you extract the properties and isoentropic process. So entropy is same, determine the X value dryness fraction. At that dryness fraction, determine the enthalpy of H4. Your interest. Whatever the method you are using, you can use your own calculation. So X value we are determining, based on the X value, enthalpy value you are determining, and determining the efficiency. Efficiency we are getting 25.96. Ideal cycle, not real cycles. Ideal Rankine cycle. Then Carnot cycle, same limits. Carnot cycle I am running 41%. So real cycle always less than the Carnot cycle efficiency only we are getting. Next, coming to the real cycle, we are assuming constant pressure heat addition. Practically it is possible. Steam is flowing in the tubes. Some pressure deviation will come. Turbine isoentropic process means there is no heat loss to the environment. If any person visited power plants, they know the shell contains liquid cooling to the turbine. What it means? Some heat is lost by the turbine, that the heat we are extracting by the cooling facility. So heat loss will take place. Some deviation will come. We are assuming 600 kilojoules per kg of energy is coming. That 600 will not come. Some energy will lost as a heat. So we have to consider that one. Like condenser also, like pump also. So some deviation will come in practical case. I will show the deviations. The pressure deviations, heat loss will take place, isoentropic energy output deviation, isoentropic input output deviation, and condenser pressure deviation will issue. But in BTech level, we are considering high grade energy deviation, not low grade energies. High grade energy deviations we are considering. Why? Because quality is high. That how much due to the heat loss, how much deviation of the entropy will take place. That deviation we are considering in turbine. And due to heat loss, how much work input to the pump is increasing. That's called isoentropic efficiency of turbine and pump. Simply. So isoentropic efficiency of turbine and isoentropic efficiency of the pump. So what is its means it is a isoentropic efficiency of turbine means actual turbine output by isoentropic turbine output. There you can see the actual turbine output is higher than, and the actual turbine output is lower than the isoentropic turbine output. So the ratio is actual turbine output by isoentropic turbine output. For high pressure turbines, the efficiency 90 to 95%. Generally 85 to 90. Coming to isoentropic efficiency of pump also. Here the actual pump work input is increasing, means heat loss increasing means input is increasing. So isoentropic pump work input divided by the actual pump work input. Okay. So in this condition, what is the efficiency of pump? They will use 75 to 85% is there. In a percentage point of view, loss is high in pumps. But magnitude point of view, why? Because the requirement of pump work input is very less compared to the turbine output. So magnitude point of view, if isoentropic efficiencies are reducing, then losses are high in turbine, not pump. Pump because pump quantity of the input is low. So same problem by considering the isoentropic efficiency of turbine 87 percentage and isoentropic efficiency of pump 85 percentage. If you solve same problem, same limitations, you see turbine output actual instead of 693 we got 603, 87% efficiency of turbine efficiency. Like pump also like that only. So finally pump work input is increased. Where is the pump work input? Yes, pump work input earlier is 3.3 kilojoules per kg. Now it is increased to 3.88 kilojoules per kg. So final efficiency is reduced to 22.5. Earlier condition 25 percentage. Now it is reduced to 22.5. So actual cycle efficiency we are getting 22 percentage. Entire I already mentioned in India itself 3,75,000 megawatt, out of 2,60,000 is thermal power plants. Entire world maybe around more than nearer I think 10 lakhs megawatt thermal power plants are running. With this low efficiency they are running means high fuel consumption, first thing. Second thing, high pollution for unit electrical generation. Efficiency is low means more fossil fuel it is using. So more pollution it is increasing the pollution to the environment. Drastically we are increasing. So huge scope is there utilization. So we have to enhance the efficiency in the mega units. We are reducing the fossil fuel utilization, efficiency enhancements. It is necessity to modify the Rankine cycle for efficiency enhancement. So what are the modifications we can made in Rankine cycle? First modification we can made, decrease the condenser pressure. The first modification is decrease the condenser pressure. You are capable to decrease the condenser pressure. It is easy. Work, same heat input, we are producing more work output. But pump work input is there. I already mentioned 1000 times is less than. So the increasing of pump work is negligible amount, but increasing of turbine work output is high. But up to what pressure we can decrease? Condenser, what is the purpose of condenser? Heat rejection to the ambient. So condenser temperature always higher than the ambient temperature. So it want to be always higher than the ambient temperature means we want to maintain condenser pressure according to respect to temperature compulsory higher than the ambient. Generally 0.1 bar pressure we are maintaining in 45 degrees temperature. That is the condenser saturation temperature. So it is a higher than the ambient. Actually average water temperature. So suppose South India maximum average water temperature, it may reach 38 to 40 in summer case, not more than that. Water temperature, right? Because we are doing water cooling only, liquid cooling only. So that is the limitation. Less than that we can't move. Okay, second method. Okay, this is very good. We already moved to the 0.1 bar pressure and we enhanced the efficiency. That is not sufficient. The next method, superheat the steam in the boiler. That is very good. Why? Because superheating means work output we are increasing. Heat input also increasing. Parallelly we are increasing work output. Second advantage, the last stage of the turbine is not facing the liquid bombardment of the turbine blades. So life of the turbine also increasing, turbine blades. But there is a temperature constraint. At high pressure, whatever the materials are available, it can withstand up to 650 degrees temperature. The maximum superheat temperature we can move according to available materials is 650 degrees. Okay. More than that practically not possible. So there is some limitation. By superheating also we are enhancing the efficiency. Third best method, increase the boiler pressure. Why? Because you are increasing the boiler pressure. Two advantages. That latent heat supply to the water is reducing. Why? Because latent heat supply only it is taking more time. By this increasing superheating, we can increase the number of cycles per hour. So power production capacity from based on the same system we can enhance. If we are moving to supercritical and ultra supercritical, and we are increasing the turbine output, no doubt by critical pressure we are increasing that. But we can't move to the supercritical. It is moving, but temperatures we can't move more than 650. Then what it will happen? The end stage of the turbine blades are facing with the water. Boiler pressurizing is a good method out of all methods. There is no limitation. You are enhancing, we can increase. But utilizing that one, we want to introduce one more method. The advantage of the boiler pressure rise for enhancement of the efficiency, we want to reheat the steam. We want to introduce reheating the steam. I will show. Yes. Superheating and reheat the steam. If you are reheating the steam, what is the reheating steam? Two turbines we are using. Same pump. By using pump, whatever the condenser, saturated liquid, using pump, we are pumping boiler feed water to the boiler pressure. Here the steam is generating, absorbing subcool to the saturation liquid to saturation vapor. Then it is moved to the superheated condition. And this superheated condition, once it is entering into the high pressure turbine, it is expanding not to condenser pressure, intermediate pressure, and again reheating is taking place to the superheated temperature. What are the temperature limitation we mentioned? 650 is the maximum. So maximum 650 means we will kept 600 or 580 something. So 600 degrees superheat temperature means reheating also we are doing up to 600. Then we are expanding in low pressure turbine to condenser pressure. You see last stages of the condenser not facing the wet steam. So turbine life is we are increasing. Turbine is not facing so much of pressure. On last stages of expansion, it is easy to expand, and we are gaining the advantage of rising the pressure of boiler by introduction of reheating. Now at present we started 22 bar pressure, first power plant, Rankine cycle thermal power plant, first installed Rankine cycle thermal power plant. Operating pressure is 22 bar boiler pressure or turbine inlet pressure. Now we reached to more than 250 bar ultra supercritical thermal power plant, means up to 300 bar we reached by introduction of reheating. If you are not introduced reheating, we can't increase the pressure. So rising of the pressure of the boiler will enhance according to the law, first law balancing. According to second law also, second law analysis all knows, we are increasing the pressure means all molecules will come in ordered position. If the all molecules in the ordered position means there is no loss in the entropy generation is reducing. Entropy generation is reducing means availability is increasing. Instead of rising temperature, if you are rising temperature means molecules will in ordered. Randomness of the molecules increasing, so automatically entropy generation increasing, availability is decreasing, the percentage of availability. So according to second law also, instead of rise of temperature of boiler, rise the pressure of the boiler, then we can enhance the efficiency. Availability in the boiler is increasing means efficiency we can enhance. So this is the upon reheat energy balance. What is the primary heat supply? What is the boiler heat supply means? Here two heat supply is there. One is primary heat supply H3 minus H2. The secondary heat supply H5 minus H4. The primary heat supply H3 minus H2 and secondary heat supply H5 minus H4. So adding primary heat supply plus secondary heat supply, you will get the heat supply in boiler. Like turbine also, The high pressure turbine work output H3 minus H4, low pressure turbine work output H5 minus H6. You are adding both, you will get the turbine output. Pump same, work input same. So we will solve the same energy balance equation. Then network output, we will calculate efficiency is network output by heat supply only. Same method, I am not repeating. We will solve one problem. Here we raise it because of reheating, we raise it to 15 megapascal into 10 means 150 bar pressure 600 degrees centigrade. And the reheat pressure is 4 megapascal means 40 bar pressure. And condenser is expanded to up to 0.1 bar pressure. I already mentioned condenser temperature we are getting at 0.1 bar pressure, saturation temperature around 45 something, 42, 45. So here also open the Euler diagram, it is easy to calculate. Mark the point 15 bar pressure, 150 bar pressure and 600 degrees temperature and extract the enthalpy. Move isoentropic process vertically to 40 bar pressure for 40 megapascal and extract the enthalpy. Next mark 40 bar pressure and 600 degrees temperature again in the Euler diagram and extract the enthalpy. Next move isentropically up to 0.1 bar pressure, extract the enthalpy. And next at 0.1 bar pressure from the steam table extract the saturation liquid and saturation liquid enthalpy and specific volume and calculate the work input to the pump and add the work input to the pump to the enthalpy of the uh, saturation liquid, then you will get the H2 value. Then calculate the main value. H3 minus H2 plus H5 minus H4, you will get the heat supply in the boiler. And H3 minus H4 plus H5 minus H6 work production by the turbine and pump work input H2 minus H1. Same. You will get the efficiency is 45. 3 degrees. This is the ideal cycle, not actual cycle. If you consider the isoentropic efficiency of turbine and pump, the efficiency will reduce. But you say 25% efficiency to 45% we reached by rising of the pressure, reducing the condenser pressure. First thing, two things we did. 3 things. First thing, we have reduced the condenser pressure. Earlier is 0.7 bar to 0.1 bar. First enhancement. Second enhancement, raise the pressure of the boiler, that is a 30 bar pressure to 150 bar pressure and superheated temperature earlier 350 degrees to 600 degrees and we introduced reheating. By this operation we can enhance the efficiency from 25 to 45%. One more according to second law and first law of analysis also, one more retrofitting means modification of the Rankine cycle is regeneration. We all know if temperature difference is high, temperature gradient is high, automatically loss of entropy generation also is high, automatically loss of availability also high. In the boiler you see 2 to 3 is a subcooled liquid is entering into the boiler. First heat supply in the boiler first reach the subcooled liquid to saturation. The temperature difference is high, the boiler temperature difference is too high in this region. So boiler temperature too high means availability energy is reducing due to the temperature gradient. So instead of that, we are raising the temperature before entering into the boiler. We are capable to send saturation liquid inside the boiler. We can enhance the efficiency according to second law. According to first law, how we can supply the heat? Not from external sources, just in the turbine. After expansion of 10 stages of turbine is there, after expansion of 5 stages or 6 stages, some mass of steam we are extracting. That mass of steam is adding to the boiler feed water to raise the temperature subcool to the saturation temperature. By this extraction of the steam, two advantages. One is last stages of steam. Why? Because wet steam is coming. So more pressure on the last stage of turbine we are reducing. That is one advantage. More pressure on the last stage of the turbine we are reducing drastically. That's main advantage. Second thing, the heat loss in condenser is reducing. The heat supply is same. Heat loss in condenser we are reducing. Thermal efficiency of the cycle is increasing. So according to first law of analysis or according to second law of analysis, we are enhancing the efficiency. So one of the best method is regeneration process. One of the best method is regeneration process to enhance the efficiency according to first law of analysis, according to second law of thermodynamics. But this extraction of the steam, addition to the steam, boiler feed water, two methods we are doing: open feed water and closed feed water. Again, open feed water we are using means mixing leads to entropy generation. Instead of that, closed feed water is best. In all thermal power plants, we are using closed feed water only. Only one connection open feed water we are connecting at the deaerator only. At the deaerator only we are connecting one open feed water heater. Remaining all closed feed water heaters. So same condition. Some of the steam we extracted for raise the feed water heater temperature to the boiler saturation temperature. So two pumps we are using. One pump is condenser pump, condenser to the open feed water heater. Second pump, open feed water heater to the boiler feed water heater. This open feed water heater called a deaerator. Whatever the condensate is there, because a total metal connection, particulate matters accumulate in the cycle of operations. We want to sediment that metal particles and we want to drain that one. For the draining, makeup water we are adding and rising of the temperature also we are doing by the extraction of steam in deaerator. So only deaerator is the open feed water. If any cycle, one feed water heater is there means that is deaerator only. More than one is there, then feed water heaters will come. For supercritical thermal power plant, we are maintaining 8 feed water heaters. Closed feed water only. One open feed water heater, that is a deaerator. Same energy balance we are doing. So in the turbine output now, H5 minus S6, total mass of the steam is expanding. Some part of the steam is, some fraction of the steam is extracted for the feed water heating means next 6 to 7, 1 minus Y fraction only the expanding turbine. So turbine outlet means H5 minus H6 plus 1 minus Y into H6 minus H7. That pump also, in the condenser heat loss also, 1 minus Y into H7 minus H1, total mass is not expanding. In pump 1 also, same thing, 1 minus Y into H2 minus H1. Pump 2, total mass is added, the extracted mass is added feed water. So just the pump work input to the pump is H4 minus H3. Boiler same, total mass is entering in the boiler. So boiler inlet is input is H5 minus H4. Same method, the energy balance we are doing. One example problem will solve. Same open feed water heater. By regeneration process, we are achieving the efficiencies 46.49. We are not introduced reheating. Only regeneration process, how much efficiency we can enhance means 46% we are getting efficiency. Same temperature limits we are running Carnot cycle means Carnot cycle efficiency we are getting 63.4%. So our efficiency always less than the Carnot cycle efficiency. Why? Because Carnot cycle is the imaginary cycle. So real cycle always less than the Carnot cycle. So move to the supercritical thermal power plant. Same modified Rankine cycle only we are using supercritical thermal power plant. Only boiler pressure we are raising to more than 221 bar pressure, then it is called supercritical, or more than 250 bar pressure, it is called ultra supercritical. In these two conditions, reheating is required. You see, this is one of the I analyzed exergetic analysis for supercritical thermal power plant. The boiler, same high pressure turbine, intermediate turbine, one reheating we are doing. You see that feed water heating, regeneration process 1, 2, 3, 4 high pressure feed water heaters, 4 low pressure feed water, and 1 deaerator. So this is the maximum number. And superheating, boiler pressurized, condenser pressure come to 0.1 bar pressure, and superheated temperature move to 600 degrees centigrade. This is the actual supercritical thermal power plant schematic view, and the TS diagram also see 9 places we are doing the regeneration process. and high pressure turbine outlet. This is the intermediate pressure turbine output. This is the low pressure turbine output. This is the condenser pump work input. This is the boiler feed water pump work input. Condenser pump, what it is doing, from the condenser to the deaerator we are pumping the water, feed water. From the deaerator to the boiler we are running the boiler feed water. Two pumps we are using. Okay, this is the schematic view. The technology advancement, directly we move to the advantages. The operating parameters we compare. Subcritical means operating range of the boiler is less than 221 bar pressure. The maximum temperatures, superheat or reheat temperatures 565. Generally we are maintaining same temperatures 565 only. Supercritical temperature, supercritical thermal power plant range from 221 bar to 250 bar pressure. The superheat and reheat temperatures 540 to 580. Reheat temperature also same range. Ultra supercritical thermal power plant, more than 250 bar pressure we are maintaining, and main steam temperature we are reaching 580 degrees centigrade, and reheat temperature also more than 580 degrees centigrade. Next, the efficiencies. We move to the efficiencies. Subcritical efficiency is 36% efficiency, and the CO2 emissions are 766 to 789 grams per kilowatt hour. Supercritical, more than nearer to we reach 45% efficiency, means 221 to 250 range. The CO2 emissions grams per kilowatt hour is 72. Ultra supercritical thermal power plant, more than 45% efficiency we are getting. The CO2 emissions are 722, less than 720, maybe 680 to 690 grams per kilo. You are using this much of high level technology, the efficiency is enhanced up to 45% only. Supercritical or ultra supercritical. And emissions also reduced only 20%, not 20 only, yes, 10 to 15% emissions only we reduced. Instead of that, we are combining natural gas power cycle and vapor power cycle, means air standard cycle and vapor power cycle. If you are combined that both cycles, the efficiency is enhancing up to 50%. More than 50 you are getting, 50 to 55%. That is one advantage. And then that vapor power cycle we don't want to move to the supercritical. At subcritical more than sufficient. Single reheat is more than sufficient. Superheating temperature 350 to 400 more than sufficient. In that range only we are getting in combined cycle more than 50% efficiency. So instead of moving ultra supercritical condition, move to the combined cycle. Then you will get the best efficiency is 50%. CO2 emissions, pollution is our main concern at present. Well, we want to run the natural cycle of the universe. We want to reduce the pollutions, drastically reducing 50% of the 50% of the pollution we can reduce by the combined cycle. Why? Means the air standard cycle heat loss is the heat source of vapor cycle. So burning of one fossil fuel, we are producing gas turbine power output and steam turbine power output. Two power outputs with one fossil fuel burning. That's why the emissions per kilowatt hour reduced drastically, 50% reduced. So if natural gas is available at present, all countries they are running, instead of ultra supercritical they are running combined cycle gas power plants. Efficiency is all are knows this one, how much percentage. Starting year, different countries. China 1991 first started ultra supercritical thermal power plant. US 1959, Japan 1968, Germany 1960, UK 1967. India started 2008. That is also, I think, Reliance, Anil Ambani, Reliance Power, they started with the support of Chinese industries. Because at the time, our BHL is not supplying supercritical boilers. They imported from the China. Now I think BHL started supercritical boiler manufacturing. Okay, some problems, same method what we are doing. I am not explaining the same problems. Come to the Brayton cycle. combined cycle I want to run means top cycle is the air standard cycle. So this in the Brayton cycle proposed in 1870s. Up to now, all are reciprocating. The Otto cycle, diesel cycle, dual cycle, popular accepted cycles are reciprocating cycles. So we are changing reciprocating motion to the rotary motion. So compressor, rotary motion, turbine, rotary motion. Reciprocating to a standard cycle, reciprocating to rotary motion proposed by the Brayton. Here what he proposed, heat addition and heat rejection at constant pressure process. Why? Because it is non-mobile engine. Work interactions in adiabatic only. Like Otto cycle, diesel cycle, dual cycle. Work interactions in adiabatic. But heat interaction, heat supply and heat rejection. Otto cycle, diesel cycle, suppose diesel cycle we are assuming heat supply constant pressure process, but heat rejection is constant volume process. Reduce the stroke length, that's all, nothing else. So here Brayton proposed both are in constant pressure process. The efficiency is increasing. Generally Brayton cycle, this is a open cycle only gas power plant. But cycle, a standard cycle analysis purpose, we are assuming is a closed cycle. Instead of burning, heat addition at constant pressure process. Instead of exhaust to the environment, we are assuming heat rejection to the sink at constant pressure process. Compression, adiabatic compression only. Turbine output, adiabatic. Whatever the standard cycle, whatever the assumptions we are made, same assumptions with the how we are deriving the efficiencies in a standard cycle, work done by the system by heat supply. Here both are heat supply, heat rejection at constant pressure process. Finally, we are substituting the equation. We will get efficiency of the Brayton cycle is 1 minus T1 by T2. So T1 by T2, 1 minus 1 by T2 by T1 is coming. T2 by T1 equal to P2 by P1 whole power gamma minus 1 by gamma. P2 by P1 is the pressure ratio. So 1 minus 1 by RP power gamma minus 1 by gamma. So you are increasing the pressure ratio. The Brayton cycle efficiency we are increasing. Simple standard cycle efficiency. So this is the combined gas vapor process. So topping cycle is Brayton cycle. Bottoming cycle is vapor power cycle. How we can run? Because heat loss condenser, wherever we are calling, the condenser temperatures may be 100, 200. But actually in Brayton cycle, the combustion chamber temperature is 1500. So at 1500 temperature, exhaust gases are expanding the turbine from 1500 temperature to 500 temperature, not 100 or 150. So only Brayton cycle we are using for the power generation means it is polluting. Thermal pollution to the ambient condition means 500 temperature exhaust gas is coming is leave to the environment means it is a loss. Generally we are not leaving, we are using for processing industry, for paper industry, textile industry, for processing purpose they are using, they are not losing. Instead of that 500 degrees temperature of exhaust gas, by using the regenerative heat exchangers for generation of the steam of vapor power cycle. For generation of steam of vapor power cycle, we are using that exhaust gas temperature. So generation of steam temperature we already see at 50 bar or 100 bar pressure, up to 100 bar we can move. 350 to 400 degrees superated temperature is sufficient. So you run the vapor power cycle. With one fossil fuel input, we are reducing thermal pollution, no doubt at all. At 500 to maybe 100 or 120 temperature exhaust gas is coming. Here steam temperature we are rising to 350 degrees. That superated steam expanding in the turbine. Single turbine is more than sufficient. And we are producing turbine power output. So two power outputs we are producing by the combined gas and vapor power cycle. In TS diagram also you see this is the vapor power cycle. Vapor cycle, this is the steam power cycle. Two power outputs with one single heat input. That's why the efficiency is enhanced to more than 50%. We are using waste heat. Why at present all combined cycle gas power plants are reaction commissioning is taking. Is where the natural gas available. In India also started. Gujarat majority of the power plants are combined cycle gas vapor power cycles. Okay. Move to one real cycle because when I PhD, I visited Indraprastha combined cycle gas power plant. two gas power plants are running. The two gas power plant, by using two gas power plant exhaust gas, we are running one steam power plant. This is the deaerator. So high pressure, low pressure, one reheating also we are doing. High pressure temperature, high pressure turbine and low pressure turbine, one reheating we are doing, and a regeneration process, only two feed water heaters only we are using, not more than that, and one deaerator we are using. So with the same 100 capacity, 100 megawatt capacity of two gas power plant, means 200 megawatt capacity of two gas power plant, we can run 100 megawatt of steam power plant. This is the general thumb rule. So heat recovery steam generator, this is one more name. It's called boiler. In the steam power cycle we are called, this is the boiler. But here we are recurring the heat. So heat recovering, for which purpose we are recovering? For generation of steam of lowering cycle. So the main advantage of combined cycle. That's why combined cycle gas power plant efficiency is more than 50. Pollution, CO2 emissions drastically reduced. Maximum 350 to 400 grams per kilowatt hour, means 1 unit of electrical generation. Okay, this is the brief introduction of entire topic. It is not entire explanation. With this introduction, you can start your research or your work on this vapor power cycles. You will. I'm giving one platform. Based on this platform, you can move yourself. Sky is the limit, and best opportunities available in the future. Okay. With this, I am ending the session. Thank you. Thank you very much.